hoopla over yonder.
Who's that? Hey, Brian.
Hey, it's pretty good.
What is that, the Chrysler Bible?
I did figure it out. Such a smart boy.
Wait a minute. This is all raw.
No, this is
It was done last week. You taking the pot out?
What? Why are you touching it? Pain in the butt, customer, let me tell you.
Bum, 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 bum.
That was reverse grinding. Hello and welcome back to Richard's GLHS clone, also known as CFX01 Saga. In the other last video, in case you didn't see it, we were diagnosing and repaired, fixed, solved the problem of the slipping clutch. Adding a little cable length. The cable was a little longer and that did solve the problem, and that put the clutch pedal at the exact right spot. The 555 may not require the cable, whereas perhaps the 523s and 568s do. And it's not slipping. But we want to put a stronger one in anyway, because I don't remember where we dug this stuff up. But so today, I am going to yank the trans and the K-member. You've got a flywheel, clutch, and pressure plate and throwout bearing. You could pull the whole engine out. I don't need to. I don't want to deal with all this hoopla over yonder when we can just support this one side, which I've done many times before. So I'm going to get to work now, sir. Was rubbing on the gusseting. This is a brand new half shaft. It'll go back together. I didn't expect that to happen. It was fine. It wasn't slipping or jumping out or anything. So we'll end up putting this back together. All right, let's see what happened to this half shaft. See this plate? That's not stock, and it rubbed while I was driving it on that clamp. Now you might say, well, your motor mounts are bad. No, the motor mounts are actually brand new and the engine's sitting exactly where it needs to sit. We just need to clearance it a little bit. I don't mind the idea. I think it's a great idea. These things are pretty flimsy, so anywhere you can add some bracing, I think on these L bodies is probably a good thing, especially if you want a corner. But we're just gonna have to make that little change there, make it, you know, sit in there a little nicer, be a little more friendly for this. Next is crawl under the car. And I gotta disconnect the low pressure line, the return line for power steering, and the high pressure line. But once that's done, then we'll have 4 bolts. There's one back up in here. It's actually a nut on the stud. There's a bolt right there. And the steering linkage up there. Okay, I got the lines off. I used every wrench in the shop, and it's a stubby 5/8 is what was able to get me going up there. Low pressure line is loose here. This is the high pressure, and I don't know if I can get the camera in there without getting fluid on it, but you can see the fitting up there. So that's ready to come out. 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there, and I Like I said, I think I gotta get up in this boot area here. I'm gonna put you while I figure that out. Don't worry, you're gonna get the grand finale, the lowering. Just hang tight. So we'll just knock that roll pin out, slip that off the shaft, and the whole thing will just drop out with the K-member and actually be kind of easy. So let's get that done. All right, that wasn't too bad. This is the pin. I just used the punch to knock that out, so hopefully slide right out of there. I won't be able to probably move it too much until the K-member starts dropping, because I don't think there's any flex in here. But if I have to, I could throw vice grips on there and just whack it with the hammer to slide it up. But I bet you it'll come apart pretty easily, hopefully. Cross that bridge when we get there. All right, well, as you can see, the member of K has been removed. I remember reading some factory service manuals. Actually, I have a bunch on the shelf over there. They don't refer to this as a K member. They refer to it as a C member, like a cross member. So now I'm not entirely sure where K member came up. Kind of shaped like a K. This is not a K car, so that's not what it's from. But anyway, here's the added plating that we wanted to address here and here. Also, we wanted to strip it and repaint it and put new bushings in it. All right, so we believe that's bigger sway bar from something else, not an L body. But there's just a lot of welding going on here. I don't know what the factory one looks like off the top of my head, but you can see there's, because this looks right here, this looks like the right piece. But that's it. All right, so that's the K member. The K member is de-installed. The rack will come off of it and it'll get cleaned and painted. If we use this one, maybe we'll use a different one. I don't know, we'll see. Brian's gonna decide on that. But yeah, the K member's not in the car anymore. What'd you do? It's gone. Kind of neat. Lots of room for activities when that. Look at that. You could just totally get to the turbo and the exhaust. Why did I even put these K members in there? Just to know. Oh, who's that? Hey, Brian. Hey, it's pretty good. I'm filming.
Here I am.
What is that? The Chrysler Bible? The Bible of. Yeah. Spirit. This is not a Spirit RT, Brian. Brian, look, I took out the K member. Most cars, you slide the boot up off of the rack and zip out a bolt. This is roll pins all the way. There's a roll pin down here.
Right.
It was easier to get to the one in the car. Yeah. Oh, thanks for telling me that. Don't worry, you don't need to tell me. I got it done by my lonesome. I did figure it out. I'm such a smart boy. All right, so I got the K member out, Brian. I'm gonna yank the trans. I'm gonna yank out the transmission. All right, we're set up. We're ready to pull the trans. Brian's already started disassembling the K member. We got this little rig here to hold the engine, and Brian's crawling under the car now to undo for the 50th time. Let's get this on film because we didn't have it on film the last time. But what he's actually doing, he's gonna pull that down,
Down a little bit.
and pull, and out it comes.
And then the cable should pop through there.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Hey.
This is all wrong.
No, this is
It was
right.
done last week.
No, we're taking the transmission out this week, though.
You taking the pot out?
What?
We're changing the clutch now.
Well, you should-
Clutch.
well, we want a trustworthy coach. It's not a big deal. shape. Put the axle seals leaked on it. And we're going to swap the pressure plate, flywheel, and everything else. So we'll get back on that. All right, we're going to zip out the pressure plate now. We'll be able to see what shape. Is that all of them? Catch the disc. Oh, he's on the pins.
Good. Large spline.
Pilots. Hang on before you grab it, let me see where the timing mark is. It's about ready to come off. All right, timing mark's pointed right at the front dowel, so hang on. These holes are specifically spaced. You can only put the flywheel on one way. All worried about that hitting me in the face. Jesus! Me in the face. Brian's applying WD-40. All right, I got the flywheel slammed in there and torqued. Got the new pressure plate. Looks like the other one. What are we rubbing?
Yeah, that's this is flywheel side here.
Yep. It's a T3 disc.
Yeah.
What's this one? Don't tell me that's a manufacturer date on there.
610 of 02. Could be.
No way. Anyway, it's a T3 setup. So
Yep.
T3.
It's definitely thicker.
Yeah,
Definitely
T3
thicker,
disc.
yeah.
Oh, it is thicker.
Yep.
Just got some more grabby grabs. That'll work. So what do you think that groove's from, Brian?
See the groove right there?
Yeah, that lines up with the fingers, huh?
It's definitely lined up with these fingers. Are shiny.
Yep.
And it's the right diameter of a circle.
So the only way that could happen is if we had too much throw because the cable was too tight.
Right.
Well, there's your problem.
Not my problem. Richard's problem.
Well, it's our problem. He's not even here. Did you want to sign that before you put it in, Brian? Up. Oh, I got it. I don't have any light under here, but it's in. I'm just gonna touch it. I'm not gonna run it down. Just like that. Because if you go crazy,
Eyeball that. You want to hand the light down there?
here we gotta eyeball it.
I got one right here.
Looking for the light.
You can see what you're doing by how far the fingers go in. That'll do. Alright, we're done. Had the camera set up to do time lapse while we installed the transmission and the battery went dead. So I believe we got the footage of us lifting it in there, but I don't have any walk around or anything. But the trans is installed with the new clutch. There's your proof right there. Hit your light. All good to go. So I mean, really, we banged that out pretty quickly. Two guys doing a trans swap. It's pretty easy. Yes, the K member was out, but actually what I think made it harder to drop the transmission is by not lowering the engine. So usually that's how I always do, but I didn't want to put that bridge from the front of the car to over here because this is pretty flimsy right now, and we painted it and I didn't want to smash anything, so that's why I went over the back like I did. But normally we would just lower the engine. The other thing was I didn't have a trans jack with me today, and that jack didn't, the car's too high for that jack, so but we got it. It wasn't that big of a deal. It's still pretty easy. And the K member's out, it's outside. But all in all, still pretty easy job. I'm pretty happy with it. Happy we changed the clutch. It was thinner than the new one. All right, Brian, what do we do today?
What did we do?
We slammed in
We did a lot. We painted the control arms after we welded them last night. Fixed some welds. We put everything back together. Got the axles in, suspensions in. We got
those are half shafts, Brian. They're not axles.
half shafts.
They're drive
They're
shaft.
equal length.
Right.
And now we're working on the shifter cable, shifter mounting.
Right. We don't have the bobble strap mounted, but the bracket is moved.
It looks like it lines up pretty well.
It looks perfect, and that was pretty good.
Pretty good eyeballing.
Yeah, I eyeballed it, and I said, you know what? I think it just needs to be in line with this one hole.
Yeah.
So now we know to go off of that from now on. But point out where the issue was before.
Okay, one issue was right here. There was like zero clearance there.
Yeah.
So we trashed a clamp. So now I can fit my finger in there.
And that's a big finger, folks.
It's a big finger, yeah.
It's the size of my leg.
That's good. And yeah, we put a new power steering line on.
And
that's it. We got to grease it, put the sway bar in. I'll do that.
Yeah, so it might look wet under here, but it's not. It's just
No,
glossy
shiny.
paint. It's just a glossy paint. There's
It's
no
awesome
oil or
paint
anything.
that I put on there.
Yeah. Which the arms are painted with brake caliper paint. Why are you touching it? It's
It
clean.
feels
Now it's
good.
not. Well,
It's
now.
still clean.
But anyway, new half shafts. I replaced the cables, but I think we might end up taking those back out and rerouting them because I don't like how they come out of the board. They're a little too twisty for my taste, and I feel like they should be poking out right in front of the
I
shifter.
think they do, right in front of the, straight in front of the shifter.
Yeah, I think they should be straight, because if they came out straight right away, then they can kind of slowly meander.
Right.
Whereas if they come out way at the top, which that's how they are now,
That's how I did mine on my car.
Yeah.
I cut the hole up here.
it's just too tight.
And then I put a heat shield in there, and they're above the
Yeah.
heat shield, but they can make this turn wider
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah, yep. And then on the, so this car, just so you know, didn't come with cable stock. These are retrofitted, and this is the floor massaging that was done, and the shifter's welded to the floor. But I think one hole or two holes right up here would be more suiting and more like the factory cars that came with cables. It would just make life a lot easier, because they are a handful to move, boy. I'll tell you what.
Still are?
What are you doing?
Get a picture.
What are you taking a picture of? I'll take a
Part
picture of you
number.
taking a picture.
Part number on this truck.
Let's look at the shifter. Oh yeah, so we the other request from the customer, pain in the butt customer, let me tell you, he's not a pain in the butt. He's pretty cool, actually. He just wants to do cool car stuff. This is welded to the floor, and just barely fits in here. Getting these cables in and out is a trick and a half. But the request was to make the factory console land where it needs to, and I was concerned that this wasn't in the right place, so we had to take the shifter out because we couldn't get that shift knob off. Let's take a look. We got the shifter. We didn't move the shifter either. It seems like it might be in a good enough spot, but definitely got some improvement in shifting, or at least positive engagement now. That was reverse grinding. And we didn't have this before. Like, it was all smushy, and now it's pretty good. I love that reverse click. So now that the engine bay has been painted, as you saw in earlier videos, the engine's rebuilt, as you hopefully saw. It's all coming together, man. So what do we have to do next? One little problem is it came with these Subaru wheels. They're 16s. If I set the camber to where it needs to be, they hit the strut. We gotta put a set of, I think eventually it's gonna get GLHS wheels. I might have to throw some pizzas on it just so we can align it and drive it. Why would I wanna align it and drive it? Well, that's because it needs to go to the dyno. She's about ready, I believe, for the dyno. Oh, I put the interior together a little bit. Let's take a look. Never mind the paint on the roof. So yeah, we got the console's back in, and those L-body experts will say, hey, that's mounted a little high. It is. It does need to be lowered a little bit, but it's in there, and it's stock with the stock boot on here with the 523 shifter. So fix the bushings, replace the cables, and now you can put it in gear, and it goes in gear, and it doesn't, once you're in gear, I mean, it's in gear. So before it was a little rubbery. Also finished the electrical, put all the electrical back together. The let's see, check engine light works. That was just one of the wires that has to be moved on the other modules. Again, to rehash what was done with this car electrically, it was converted from an L body to a non-L body. Basically, it had a CSX computer in it, which is, you know, just basically a T2 setup. So has its advantages and everything, but if you recall, the whole goal of this car is to get it to a stock engine swapped in 87, because it's an 85 car. So we, in California, remember this car is going back to Cali, 85 car with a newer drivetrain, and its stock newer drivetrain has to be stock for that year and pass emissions and inspection, and that's what it is. So that is why we put it back, not that they would have known, but we put it back to 87 electronics with 87 complete numbers matching, 87 engine, head, everything as far as the engine and harness goes. So there's no tomfoolery. It is what it is. It is stock. It even has a stock logic module in it. It's not even a stage 2. We might swap that on the dyno just to see what it does and put it on the dyno, just make sure everything's perfect, and then it needs paint. Hopefully we can get this thing painted in the next couple of months, but it's ready to go. In any case, hang in there, check us out, stay tuned, subscribe, like the videos. We'll see you later. Got more videos coming, more front wheel drive turbo stuff, of course, maybe some other stuff. See you later.